Okay guys, today we going to take a look at this 88 Bronco. We picked this thing up a couple years ago and been slowly working on it, getting it fixed up, and as you can see it needs some serious rust repair and whatnot. The interior is not in too bad a shape. It's old Eddie Bauer, needs a windshield and a little bit of interior work too, but not too bad. So we were driving it a little while ago and it wouldn't go into reverse anymore. And so we pushed it out of the driveway where it was parked and decided that we should try drive it home in forward gear. And it's about a 45-minute drive. Almost made it. About 3 miles from the farm it quit the forward gears as well, so it's been sitting out here for a little while. And we just got it going today to bring it into the shop, and today it drives just fine. So we're suspecting it's a transfer case issue. It seemed to be what was going on, and we've had a little bit of problems with it before. So we're going to take that out today and tear it apart, see what we can find. If nothing in the transfer case, I guess we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the transmission. Super weird that it worked perfect today, and we've got our helpers here again, so we'll see how this project goes. Yeah, we're just gonna slide under here. This Bronco's got the 5-liter engine in it, automatic transmission and electric shift Borg water transfer case. Now when I say we've had a few problems, we've had issues with the speedometer gear stripping off, and we're not sure if it's something in the transfer case that's causing that to happen or if the cable is bad. We do have a new cable here for it, so we're gonna put that on, and we'll have to go back out to the salvage yard and find another gear for the end of it, because you just can't seem to find those online. So I'm gonna work away at getting this thing out and see if I can keep the cats from stealing all my parts today. Alright, we've got drive shafts undone, electrical undone, the speedometer cable is undone. This drive shaft here, the U-joint, you want to make sure you tape those up so that the joint can't fall apart. That joint isn't very old, so we don't want to have to replace it again. So keep the tape on to keep the cups on there until you're ready to put it back together. Now we'll go ahead and we'll start taking out the transfer case bolts and see if we can round up a kid to help lift this thing out of here. Draining the oil here too before we get too carried away. I don't know if you can tell by the video, but that is some metallic looking oil coming out of there, and that was just very recently changed. So I think we're on the right track with the transfer case failure, and not necessarily the transmission. The oil in the transmission looks really clean and full. So of course, we've got the helpers here. They're checking out the parts. They're probably going to try to steal some bolts. This guy's a little bit curious about the oil. Oh, he's taking off. Now he wants the tools now. Got the transfer case out. We'll take a minute, get her washed up here, get it up on the bench, and start taking it apart, see what we got inside there. So we got the service truck boosting on the old Bronco. We're going to be hopefully making quite a few videos with this little girl while we restore it. It's got a 400 in it right now. This motor burns oil worse than it burns gas, so it's got some ring issues. We've done a bunch of bottom end work to it and timing chain and all that stuff, but it's gonna get the 460 out of the Lincoln. We got that 460 going the other day. There's a shot of the Lincoln if you can make that guy out. It actually runs really good. This thing needs a lot of rust repair as well, but that 460 runs really good, doesn't burn any oil. So we're gonna order a kit to change it over from the 400 to the 460 and work at getting that installed here in the next month or so. So watch for that video coming up too. Alright, we got it kind of washed off and blowing off a little dry. We'll get at taking this thing apart here shortly and see what's going on. When I turn it over, I can hear something banging in there, so I'm pretty sure we got our culprit, and we'll just see what it's going to take to get her fixed up now. Okay, first thing we're going to start with here is taking the yoke off that goes to the front differential. That nut was very tight. The old Milwaukee got her off. So take that nut off, and there's a washer and a seal here. A little bit of a rubber seal. Keeps the oil from coming through the threads and out the shaft and through the threads and leaking at the drive shaft there. So start with that, and then we're going to spin it around, and we're going to take all of the case bolts out and get the case split. Alright, we got all the bolts out. We're going to use these two areas here and here to pry the case apart. On the tag you'll see that this is 1356, which is a Borg Warner transfer case there. I'll get that into screen so you can see that, and we will get this thing split apart and see what we're going to need. Alright, split it apart here. You can see there's a whole lot of metallic-y looking oil in there. Hopefully the Planetary survived, and we'll be replacing bearings just because of all the metal. Typical fail on these is the pump, I believe, and you can see, I mean, the chain is pretty loose. There's some junk coming out here. Definitely onto our problem area. So we'll get a little bit further apart here and see what else we're going to need to replace in this old girl. Alright, to get the rest of this apart, same thing, take the nut and washer off of the rear drive shaft, and we will take that yoke off. Same thing, it's got that rubber washer in there to keep the oil from coming out through the threads. Believe it or not, the oil will come out that way. Seems kind of crazy because the threads are tight, but we'll spin that around and we'll get this next shaft out here. So that pickup tube right there, that's the suction. There should be a hose going on that guy over to here on the pump, and you can see that that is broken off. And we're going to do some investigating into why that broke, and probably going to find that'll be the causes to the rest of the failure of this transfer case here. So as we got down to the root cause of what's going on, this is a pretty common failure in these transfer cases. This rib right here is what prevents the pump from turning with the shaft so that it can actually pump, and as you can see, it's wore right through. So we're going to need to do some repair there. And this metal bracket on the pump is bent over and broken, and that's what is supposed to be fitting in that groove, and it's supposed to be a triangle shape that's clearly bent over there. So I think we got down to the cause of what's going on, and we'll see about getting some parts. Alright, take the shaft housing off the end of this one here, and we're going to be able to see our gear and how it's getting chewed up, and that's actually not the right gear. Last time we were to the scrapyard, all we could get was the red one. This one is supposed to be yellow. These things are color coded for speed, for when you needed to change your speedometer gearing, for the speedometer to work right when you change tire size or rear end gears. And you can see how the drive for that is just wore right out in the center, and that's just causing that other gear to slip. So we're going to have to find a match set of yellow gears when we put this thing back together. Now that speedometer gear, it's just a press fit. It's got a little ball there that slides into that groove. So when you pry it off, just make sure you're nice and even on both sides. And yeah, you can see, I'm going to hold that up against the white, how it's just wore out in the middle. Now we're going to take off this little spacer for the gear and the snap ring, and this main shaft will slide right out. We got the snap ring off there. For this shaft to come out, we're going to take that little ball out, so hopefully this magnet will do the trick there. Guys, when you put these back together, make sure you remember to stick that guy in, or that speedometer gear is not going to stay stationary, and that'll screw up your speedometer reading and your cruise control. So you want to make sure you get that guy back in when you're putting it back together. Okay, we got the main shaft out there. You can see the clutch for the coil for the 4x4 shifter, and so here's a look at the main shaft. We're going to pull that snap ring, pull that shaft apart, get that pump off, inspect all the parts here, and I guess we're going to decide if it's worth fixing this one or if we should just go look for a used one. We'll get some parts prices together and see what she's going to take, and maybe be putting it together in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this and it was helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, and please subscribe to our channel. Thanks. So that's a look at what the shaft looks like when it's tore apart. Here we've got the clutch, and it's not scored up too bad. It's got a little bit of grooves in it, but it was working really good. So we'll look at possibly replacing that. The teeth in here, where everything meshes together, are in really nice shape. There's no wear in there, where these guys come together for the 4x4 shift, and everything else is, you know, looking pretty decent for not having the pumping oil. We'll pull that planetary part, but I think it looks pretty good. Once the gears and that look good, we'll get that cleaned up and probably just get a set of bearings for this thing, a pump and a suction line. I'd like to get a new chain for it. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell how much wear is in the chain when the case is split, because the bearings aren't holding it where the shafts where they should be. So we'll throw a new chain in it. It did seem to have a lot of slack when you put it into gear, so we'll get a new chain, see if we can round up these gears, and pump and pick up, and we'll get her put back together in the next video. Thanks for watching.